Design history. Do we really need to learn design history at university? The answer is yes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. But seriously, I get asked this question a lot, and I always get it asked from university students, and I was asking the same question while I was at university as well, because I was at university and I just wanted to get on with design work. And I get it, because when you're there, you're young, scrappy and hungry, and you just want to prove to the world that you can design and do the best thing you can. So you don't want to waste time by learning about what other people have designed, because you just want to get on and do your own thing. But let me ask the follow-up question that I get a lot as well, because the first question is, do we need to learn design history? But the second question always is, how do you get inspired for your designs as well? And I think both questions answer themselves. The way that we get inspired and the way that we can contextualize what has come before is by knowing about design history, and that is then what is going to inspire us. So in the last video, I spoke about design philosophy and design process as a whole, and we spoke about the fact that the design problem isn't established until halfway through a project, after you've done the divergent and convergent thinking and all that good stuff. So with design history, you can see in this lovely diagram that I am showing you now, if I do it right, that design history can contextualize this, and it gives a starting point so that you know that you're on the right track when you first start off in your divergent thinking. Without design history, you could be repeating the same mistakes that people have made in the past, and you could just be missing the mark without even knowing it, and without knowing the basics of what has come before it. So in regards to design history, what are the important things to learn? Well, the good news is that industrial design as a career is only about 120 years old, so there's not a lot of history to learn. I'm from the UK, and UK's history is so long. I know that people in America might think that 120 years is a long time because America is quite young itself, but the fact is there's not a lot of history to learn, so it's quite easy to pick up. So you've effectively got the Industrial Revolution, and then after that you've got the sort of arts and crafts movement and the craftsmanship, but moving more into design for manufacturing and industrial design as well. You've got Charles Rennie Mackintosh, and then you can literally build a timeline. Let me just do this, and there's going to be a nice timeline moving through now, all the way up to Bauhaus movement, and then you've got like the Memphis movement. And FYI, before I get into too much more detail in this episode and over the next few episodes as well, I am a product designer that really enjoys the later few stages of design. So I really like the sketching and the rendering and the visualization stuff. In this early stage, when I'm talking about research, semiotics, ethnographics, design movements, things like that, I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone. So please let me know down in the comments if I get anything wrong, if you pick up on it as well. Using the timeline, you can start to pinpoint the different styles and the different viewpoints that people had at the time. And then that is how you can get inspired now by looking back, recontextualizing the things that people were doing back then, and then applying it to your solutions now. It doesn't mean copying it like for like and just using a new type of steel or aluminium that's lighter and stronger to steal their design. It's not how it works. You still can take their mindset and their thought process and recontextualize it to come up with something new. If I'd have planned this a little bit better, I could have taken you around the London Design Museum and taken you around the exhibition there. I haven't planned this very well at all, and I've got about 15 minutes to film this whole video before I'm going off and doing something else. So I've got the next best thing, books. You guys should have as many design books as possible. I've picked up a few here, but here at Precipice, we've got shelves and shelves and shelves of books that we can go through. Now, these aren't just design books. We also have business books, marketing books, research books, ethnography books, all different types of genres that can help a creative with designing a product. But I've got a few here that I want to go through, some for personal reasons and some to tell you guys what to start reading as well. So let's rearrange some books so we know what we're looking at here. First things first, this book here, The Design of Everyday Things by Donald A. Norman, this is the first book you should read if you're a designer. Go and check this book out. The next thing that I would suggest doing is getting a design history or an art history book and going through, just like I showed you that timeline before. This is basically where I get all the information from, because then you can start to pinpoint where different things happened, what cultural things were influencing them, if you know the times that they were happening, and why they were happening as well, along with just looking at some cool designs in here as well. Some designs that are way ahead of their time, and then you look at the date and you go, oh wow, was it really made 100 years ago? I'm thinking about the Bauhaus stuff in here as well. It's crazy to think that, so it's really cool to contextualize stuff like that as well. So after you've gone through and got an overall timeline in your mind about what type of things were going on, then you can go out and research the types of design that you were interested in within that timeline as well. So this Bauhaus book will go into even more detail about the Bauhaus movement and why they were doing it and who was doing it and stuff like that. And then you can basically build up a library within your own mind about the designs that were happening at the time. And then you can draw on those. As I mentioned before, it becomes like a baseline knowledge of the design world, and you can draw on that knowledge throughout the double diamond technique as well. Once you've gone through the design style or the design movement even in more detail, then you can start to pick up specific designers and look at them in more detail as well. So you've gone down different levels of knowledge, and then all of a sudden you can start picking up knowledge of specific designers and really find out their mindset behind it as well. So this is a Zaha Hadid book, and it's going through some sketches. It's got some interviews in here and stuff, so that's a really cool book as well. So yeah, you can see already that there's a baseline of knowledge building up based on what has come before it. And these are just design books. If I was to bring up some marketing, some business, some research ethnographic books and stuff as well, then you can see that the knowledge that you have is already equipping you to become a better designer and designing for people a lot better as well. Which brings me on to this book, Touchy Feely by Joey Zeladon. If you guys are watching this, go and let Joey know that I've mentioned his book on my YouTube channel. Go and let him know over on Instagram, because I'm not going to tell him, but I think he deserves to know, so you guys should go tell him. This book is his book all about the interactions that he has with products on an emotional level. And if you remember last episode, I spoke about meaning-centered design and taking human-centered design that one step further by addressing the emotions and the meanings that we gather from products. This is a really interesting book. It's got poems by Joey along with interactions that he has, and it's a really great book if you want to look at more the emotional side of things, but it's a really light-hearted read because I'm not one for words. If you've seen my portfolio reviews, you'll know that I don't read anything. But for example, these pages are really nicely laid out with a nice poem that makes you think about the emotional connection as well. So well done to Joey for that really cool book. So I feel like I've sped through a lot of design books. I haven't really told you much about them, but this episode is just to try and get you to go out there and find your own books. Now, I'm going to give you a case study as to why you should do that. Coupled with the fact that we've got the design of everyday things, we've got our design history, and we've got our books on specific design movements, I'm going to take a current brand and analyze it in the sense of recontextualizing it from design history. And the brand that I want to talk about is Made.com. So Made.com is a furniture company, and they make all these different types of furniture for your home furnishings and accessories and stuff as well. But they have a very particular style. They have a Made.com style that I would call it. It really is, if I see an advert of theirs on the tube or wherever I am, I know that it's Made.com before I even see it because of the specific design style that they've got going on. Now, what I want to talk about is Memphis design. That was a design style, design movement. I can't remember. I don't know. You guys let me know. Memphis design was a period in the 80s that essentially set the groundworks for the look of the 80s and early 90s as well. This bold, neon colors, crazy squiggles, everything going on. You guys know the look. That all came from Memphis design. It looked haphazard, but that was the point. And when I was at design school at university, I really didn't like Memphis design. I thought it was so heavy-handed, just absolutely really childish design. And I always thought, why would you do that when you could make some beautiful designs and really put some consideration into it? Now that I've graduated and I have a little bit more constraint on me as a designer working in a consultancy that works for a bigger company, I can see that the Memphis movement is a lot of fun, and I reassessed it and I really like the Memphis movement. So if we've spoken about Memphis design, the next thing that I want to talk about is the Bauhaus movement slightly. It came a long time before Memphis, and if you look at some of the dates that the Bauhaus pieces were made, then it really boggles the mind that it was like 100 years ago when they look so futuristic. But Bauhaus still has these geometry shapes, and it has this bold lines of furniture, and it's a really monochrome color palette that they had for their furniture, at least. For their posters, you can see as well, they were going crazy and doing their own thing on there too. Now, with those two being said, I want to pick up on a current trend as well for a third element of design history, and that is what's going on currently, and it is the pastel color palette that we see in a lot of brands, particularly lifestyle brands. You can see color, but in a pastel neutral way, absolutely everywhere. And it's these pastel colors that we've now associated with these lifestyle brands that are aspirational, and they are something that we aspire to have in our own home. And it's those pastel brands that I think Made.com have taken and used in their own style as well. So you can see here that we've got three different things, three different design styles, all coming together, and you can see that Made.com uses all three of those. I think from now on, Made.com should be called softpastelmemphis.com, because at the end of the day, that is all they are. They're using the bold geometry shapes, they're using the bold colors, toning it down slightly with the Bauhaus influence, and adding in that pastel effect as well to really give a overall aspirational, fun, quirky, but quite contemporary brand as well. So you can see that by building up a level of understanding of different design movements, you can start to pick and choose design elements from all of them to build your own brand and to help design to fit a specific market. So in the last video, I did speak a little bit about meaning-centered design, and this is exactly what we do. We take design cues from different markets, different elements, and different genres of design, and we mix and merge them in such a way that it makes a specific style and a specific feeling when you then see that brand. This happens from the product side, the interface, the brand, the messaging, the whole story behind a brand we can do in this way. So once you've got this, and we'll bring back the lines now, you've got your contextualized background information of all the things you need to know. And then as you go down your divergent, convergent thinking and the design squiggle, then you can do some meaning-centered design and pull in elements of emotion, style, and really pinpoint the exact emotion and the exact feeling that you need to get from that brand. Have I spoken enough about design history? I don't know. This is the Frieze book by Paul Coxhead Studio in collaboration with the Friedman Bender Gallery in New York. And is it a nice source of inspiration with really nice images of some crazy designs? Yes. But the main thing that I want to pinpoint here is some self-promotion, because actually if you look in this book, my name is in there too. So if you Google the Frieze exhibition at the Friedman Bender Gallery and you see all of those pieces in there, you'll know that I worked on this. And if you want to pick up this book yourself, I think they're still for sale. It's not sponsored by Friedman Bender or Paul Coxhead Studio. I just thought that would be a little fun thing to show if I'm showing books. So for those of you who came here for sketching and rendering, bear in mind that that will come. That will all come in due time. But these first few episodes are all trying to get everyone to the same sort of level and get the theory out there first before we start to dive in and design. So then you know the theory that I'm doing without me having to go through it every episode. So with episode 1, the design philosophy being covered, and episode 2, the design history being covered, next week we're going to start looking at some market research and some user research and use case scenarios so that we can then start to design the product. Now, those of you that have been paying attention might know that I haven't said which product I will be designing yet. That's because I haven't finalized it with the company that I've been working with, and I don't want to give too much away. It's definitely happening, but we're just trying to figure out the nuances of how we want to play this and how much I want to show their company and how much I want to show this. So just know that it is going to be a really cool project, and thank you so much for sticking around and being patient while I clear those things. But these actual design theories are really important as well before we get into those sketching. So I will see you next Wednesday for some market research, some use case scenarios, and digging more into the design kit that I spoke about last episode to come up with some tasks that we can do to start world building so that I know who I will be designing for in the future when we start getting into those things. If you learned anything in this video, don't forget to comment down below, because I love hearing how I'm helping and I need to know how I can help more. If I've made any mistakes in calling anything wrong, or a design movement or a design style or anything like that, let me know down in the comments as well. And don't forget to like and comment and subscribe and everything else that YouTube asks you to do. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.